Hey guys, it's Levi from the other side. Today I'm giving you a time lapse of me making my Cringe Tuesday submission, which didn't win. But there's hope. Maybe I'll get in next week for Cringe Tuesday. Probably not, but again, we can hope. Um, yeah, I recorded me making just this project. I had to do it really quick in 1 week, so I just thought because I was spending such like huge chunks of time on it, it would be easier to record and then make this time lapse video for you. It's sped up by 10,000%. Apparently, I don't exactly know what that means, but that's what Premiere Pro is telling me. So, um, yeah, unlike my last sped up animation video that I made, in this one, I will try to go through some of the processes that I do. Um, I am self-taught, so I won't be using any of the fancy terms. I've been doing this for about a year. But I can just, yeah, give you a couple insights. For instance, right now, I'm just, pretty obviously getting all of the colors from PewDiePie's hair or from PewDiePie and replicating them to make an image that looks very similar to him. Um, I'll sprinkle in some music maybe that I made throughout this video, and otherwise I'll just have segments of me talking. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you ever have any questions, or I don't know if I could answer them because again I'm not an amazing animator, but if you do have any questions or videos that you'd like me to make maybe about animation, I'd love to do that. So just, yeah, leave a comment or something talking about that. Yeah, I'll see you guys soon. I just wanted to talk about this part right here. This is actually something that I'm testing out for the first time right now, but or I guess when I made this video. But one of the things I wanted to try was to you see the blur lines that I'm making to make the animation look smoother. I've watched a lot of other animation that has inspired me, and a lot of it they do this specific thing to just make movements that are really quick, where there's only 2 or 3 frames, look smoother. I think it worked pretty well. I think in the future I'll try other methods. This one was a little bit too blurry, I found, but I still did enjoy it. It looked really good. So yeah, I just thought I would sprinkle in this kind of interesting thing that I was trying out. Another thing I wanted to talk about was just kind of tweens in general. So if you aren't an animator, you've probably never heard the word tween, and you're like, wow, what does that mean? But I'll try to explain it. Um, so when you're animating and you draw something, and you want it to loop, so you want those 3 frames to loop over and over again. Normally, what you'll do is you'll create what's called a tween. So a tween is, if you look, a classic tween is what I'm talking about. There are different types of tweens. So a classic tween is the purple. You'll see it along the screen in the timeline at the bottom there. Is basically your computer saves a whole bunch of data, all of the stuff that you've animated inside of it. And when you double click on a tween, what happens is you go inside of a new timeline. So this timeline will be everything that is inside of the tween. And you can have different layers on this timeline, and this timeline can basically have whatever you want in it. And when you're outside of that tween, and you have that tween in your main timeline, and you play it, what happens is the tween plays its entire timeline, its mini timeline that it has inside of it, and then it repeats. So it loops over and over again. And this comes in very useful because for things like just a walking motion or something, you don't want to redraw the walking motion every time they take a step. So you just repeat the same walking motion over and over again, which makes it far easier. Another interesting thing about tweens is there are 2 ways that tweens can kind of be in your timeline. So you can have them as a tweened layer, which is what the purple is showing up there. That's a tweened layer. And tweened layers, if you have 2 keyframes, where you have a keyframe is basically every time you change like what you're animating. So you add something new, or you take something away, or you draw a different frame. So if I have a keyframe in a tweened layer here, then I have a keyframe, like say, at the start, and I have a keyframe in my tween, like say 5 or 6 frames after it. So there's a 5-frame space in between these 2 keyframes on this tweened layer. And the tween, again, like I said earlier, is looping whatever's inside of it. And say the only difference, because all you can have in your tweened layers are whatever is inside of the tween. And the only way to manipulate that is to double click on the tween. But you can move around the entire tween as an object, and basically your computer will fill in the gaps. So again, like I said earlier with my example, if you have a keyframe and then you have another keyframe 5 frames after it, and you on the second keyframe you move the tweened object up. You just move it upwards. The computer will fill in that movement. So instead of just going it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, oh, and now it's moved upwards, you'll see that the computer will fill in the object, slowly moving an equal amount every frame towards the next key frame. So this comes in really handy, especially with what is known as a motion tween. So a lot of times what I do, and you're actually on screen right now, I'm making one of these, is I open up a classic tween like I was talking about earlier. So I double click on it and I create a whole bunch of symbols for, in this case, there's that crazy PewDiePie guy there. He's all electronic. He has all these different limbs, right? And every single one of his limbs is a symbol. His head is a symbol. his arms are, or his electronic arms are symbols. The lights are their own symbol. And what you do is you make what's known as a bone structure, and you connect each symbol together. And when you connect them together, you can't move them apart. Like you can't destroy the bone structure. It kind of stays together. And if you move the objects around, they'll all move as a real arm will if you set up the bone structure properly. So basically, this motion tween is a normal tween, but the only difference is instead of having no limitations to where you can move it, the limitations are that it has to work with the bone structure, so it can't break off from the bone structure. And this is very useful to create fluent animations, because if I have a tween a keyframe motion tween here in one spot, and his arm is kind of inwards, it's all curled up, and then five frames after it, I have an extended arm. Now the computer, using the limitations where it knows that the bone structure has to stay together, will create the arm extending. And this is an extremely helpful process. And I think when I was starting out, I had no clue about this. And it really, really helps out your animation, because you don't have to do every single frame. The animation's over. I don't think I explained this extremely well, but I just thought I would kind of give a brief, a brief kind of talking about all this stuff. So if you enjoyed this and you'd like me to kind of explain it where I actually have the whole thing set up and ready, I can maybe make some animation tutorials, but only if somebody wants them. I'm not going to go out of my way to make them. So if you would like to see that, yeah, just leave a comment or something. Otherwise, I don't think anybody's made it this far, but thank you if you have, and have a great day.